We're looking today at how do you keep going in the middle of your goals when you maybe feel like you're succeeding, maybe you feel like you've already failed, but how do you get that motivation to keep making progress in life? How do you keep that progress when life is challenging, when life is difficult, when the finish line keeps moving like it feels like in the middle of COVID and quarantine and all of this? So we're glad you're with us. I'm Austin. This is Lauren. We're glad you're with us for another episode of Tekoa Talks.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we actually were just talking about is how crazy it is how high of a failure rate New Year's resolutions are. So I think we figured it out 6% of people keep their resolutions. Like, that's such a small percentage. And so if we already know we're set to fail, how do we not fail? How do we keep going? How do we keep the motivation? Or how do we pivot? I think pivot is a big word right now in the midst of COVID. We're pivoting.
I don't like that word. I've heard it way too much.
But how do we go, okay, these are my goals, these are my values, this is where I need to be going, and let's get practical. And like we talked about week 1 of let's set them into bite-sized goals so that we can be successful. But if we already feel like we failed, okay, so it's the end of January and I haven't hit my goals, I haven't made any progress, I haven't even started. What do I do now? Like, how do I keep going? And where do I go from here? Because I think that sometimes can be paralyzing of like, well, I'm just a failure. I should just give up.
Well, and I know people that never set goals in the first place because they don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And there's that fear of like, well, I'm going to fail. And so I think knowing your purpose in life, knowing your purpose but behind why you're setting the goals, what you're working towards is really the key to keeping that motivation to keep going forward. Because if you're sure that this is what you're supposed to do, if you're sure that I need to lose weight because my health is at stake and
Right.
I care about my family and being around for my daughter as she grows up, like that is motivating. Even if I failed, I'm like, well, okay, I'm gonna get back to it because I really like love my daughter and I want to be here for her and I need to change my health versus like, well, like I don't know, I kind of want to get healthier, I kind of want to look a little better, like I probably should lose a few pounds. Like you're probably not going to do it.
Well, and I think that that's a good point is sometimes recognizing like maybe you have the wrong goals. Maybe you failed because you set the wrong goals. They don't align with your values. They don't have a big enough alignment with your purpose. And if we are supposed to live out our purpose, like what we are doing in our day to day and our week to week should be leading up to fulfilling that and not derailing us or deterring us. And I think sometimes like we fall off the wagon and you have to dust yourself off and pick yourself back up and refocus and get that like vision of, okay, so I'm working towards this for this reason. This is my why. This is my purpose. Now I need to get up and go, and not like, well, that'd be nice to do at some point. Like there's a different motivation behind it. And I think really having that like gut check of, why am I doing this? Yeah. What's my purpose? Why am I here?
I think it's really good too so that you actually get somewhere in life. I think sometimes even we're in Silicon Valley, like people are where they wanted to get to at some point in their life. Like I got the job for the company I wanted to work for, I make plenty of money, and like life is good, and like you're just kind of on autopilot and you're just kind of coasting through, and maybe your job's good, maybe it's not good, maybe life is good, maybe it's not, but you're like, you kind of got to where you wanted to get to, and now you're like, where do you go from here? And if you don't know your purpose, if you don't know like where are you trying to get to, where do you want to get to in life, if you don't know that, you're just going to coast 10, 20, 30. You're going to be that boss that you see now that you're like, he hates his life or she hates her life.
Worst boss ever.
And you don't want to be in that spot. You want to be where you want to be. You want to, like, I think we all have this desire of, I want to live a life that matters and makes a difference. And, that matters in our job. It matters in how we, like our families and our goals and different things. Like, we need to know what that is so that we can get there versus just, okay, I lived a decent life and then I die.
Right. And I think it's worth pointing out too that if you're not where you want to be, you can. Now, granted, it's probably going to be hard work because you're not where you want to be because you haven't put any effort. And I think having that reality check of sometimes you need to think differently, you need to do differently. And it's hard to get out of that mind space of like, well, this just sucks. I'm just stuck here. Like, there's no point.
Or it's 2021 and it's COVID life.
Right.
Like, it's too hard right now.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to wait.
And I think there is some truth in that, and like recognizing like what season are you in?
Sure,
Like,
definitely.
right after having a kid, probably not the best time to completely uproot your life and do like a major life change. Now, some people go do crazy things like plant a church in the midst of that, but I think like recognizing what season are you in, what is at your like disposal, so to speak, like what is within reach easily, whether it's going back to school, whether it's getting an accountability partner, whether it's completely changing, careers, like whatever it is that you're working towards, but being realistic about it. Because I think sometimes we can see what other people have and we get that comparison bug and we're like, well, they have it so easy. And it's like, no, they worked hard. And like, we have to recognize that like whatever it is, like, it's not just going to fall in our lap and be like, yay, life's amazing. And this is so easy. It's like, no, we have to put in the work and we have to take those baby steps to get there and make that progress.
That's good. And I think to bring it kind of full circle, even back to, okay, well, we started a church in the middle of the pandemic. Why did we do that? And knowing why we did that is how we continue to take those baby steps. It's how we continue to keep moving forward. And it's how when the pandemic hit, we didn't say, okay, cross it off the books. Like, maybe Allie and I will revisit this, in 5 years when life is easier. We knew that, hey, we really care about people. We really care about our city. Matter of fact, this whole conversation is why we started the church. Mm-hmm. We knew that we want to help people discover their purpose and figure out how to live that out and equip them to live that out. And we know from our experience that connecting people to God is one of the primary ways to do that. But we knew that doesn't stop in the middle of the pandemic, and that doesn't stop if life gets hard. And matter of fact, it's probably more important now than ever because we're all trying to figure this out and nobody knows the answer. And it hasn't been an easy year, but the reason we've kept going and the reason that we're not going to give up is because we know that this is what we're supposed to do. We know that this is what we care about. And so we're going to continue to push forward the months, the weeks, the days where, we just had a big week as a church and we had some exciting things to celebrate, and like, okay, it's easy to keep going, but then there's other weeks where it's hard, and we're going to keep going because we know that this is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think once you have that purpose, it helps you to keep going. And if you don't have your purpose, I think that this is a perfect time as ever to try to spend some time figuring it out. Like, what were you put on earth to be doing? I think the beautiful thing is to recognize we all have purpose. God uniquely created us and designed us for a purpose, on purpose. And it's meant for us to figure that out. And for some people, they figure it out super early on. And for some, there's a midlife crisis phase for a reason. But for some people, it is you find it out later. And I think whatever season you're in, I think the reality is that you were created on purpose for a purpose. And it's worth it to figure it out so that you can live that out. And
that's good. That's really good. We're glad that you joined us for another Tekoa Talks. This is why we're doing these. We want to help you find and live out your purpose. We hope these conversations, as Lauren and I talk about what we're doing in life and how we're processing and living out our calling and our purpose in life, is a way for you to help learn what your purpose is and some ideas and ways that you can live that out in your life. So we hope you'll join us again. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you next time.